Good afternoon and welcome to the SpamTitan Email Security webinar, where today we're going to focus on key areas such as phishing, zero-day attacks, malware and spoofing. I'm delighted to say we've got a great panel of experts with us today, including Sean Doherty, our head of R&D at TitanHQ, Marissa Clardy, SpamTitan's lead product developer, and Derek Higgins, our engineering manager. And three individuals have massive experience with SpamTitan, and they're here today to talk through some of these key areas at the moment. A couple of small things that are important to note. We're going to try and keep this to 25 minutes, and at the end we're going to have a Q&A session. We have a huge sign up today for the webinar, so we're expecting lots of questions. Feel free to type them in, and I can guarantee you that we'll cover all questions. If we don't get to answer them today, we'll reply via email in the next 24 hours. But we'll pick out the most important ones and the ones we think are most relevant, and we'll talk through later on. Some of the areas we're really going to zone in on today are the areas that we're seeing out in the field, be it end customers and MSPs. In particular, phishing, spoofing attacks, and malicious content and day zero attacks. We've developed the product recently and some great add-ins that we'll talk about today, and I think you'll find that very, very interesting. So we'll kick off with Sean. Sean, talk to me about the first of these, phishing, in particular the management of ransomware attacks. Where is SpamTitan really strong in that regard?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's important to understand that there's no one setting in SpamTitan for the prevention of phishing or ransomware attacks. It's a layered defense approach that we take that ensures we get a high capture rate. Our first line of defense is the rejection of connections from IPs and ORBL block lists. We use several commercial block lists as well as our own proprietary ORBL. Next, we block dubious attachments with extensions like .exe, .pbs, .src, etc. That can all be managed via the user interface. Then all attachments are subject to virus scanning by our two virus scanners. We use Bitdefender and ClamAV. And we've a couple of very exciting new features in the recently released SpamTitan 7.04 to improve the catch rate for day zero viruses in particular. First, there is the new cloud communication component, which will help improve detection and reduce false positives. The AV engine now includes a hidden detections feature, which are not reported to the end users. Since these detections are still not fully tested to only detect malware, they are not reported to the user, but only to the cloud. The detection data is then analyzed to see if the detected data is malicious, and this will also help if those detections trigger false positives on your user's unique files. Similarly, when malware is detected by the AV engine, the metadata information, including a one-way hash of the file, is submitted to our cloud servers. This allows us to quickly verify if this file is a known clean file, and if it is, then the AV engine will automatically suppress the false detection, saving users from seeing a false positive. In addition, the false positive will be reported and removed from the AV signatures in a future update. We recommend that all customers enable the cloud protection and sandbox features to reduce false positives and to improve detection rates, especially for zero-day malware. We have always taken the stance that SpamTitan patches do not unexpectedly change the behavior of the running appliance after patching to a new revision. And as such, any new features need to be manually enabled via the UI. So if anyone out there has already patched to version 7.04 and hasn't enabled the cloud protection or the sandboxing yet, then we'd recommend you do so immediately. Of course, not all phishing and ransomware attacks contain attachments. Some will just contain links to malware-infected sites or phishing sites designed to capture information. SpamTitan performs link checks on all links within an email. As well as using known URL blacklists such as SURBL or URIBL, we're also checking the URL reputation against our own URL blacklist, which leverages the threat intelligence from our web filtering projects. We're currently seeing around 60 to 80,000 malicious URLs added to that database on a daily basis. Finally, SpamTitan also comes with a load of anti-spoofing measures, which also help combat phishing, which I think we'll talk about later on.
There's a lot in that, Sean, and one of the pieces that's very interesting for me is actually we have a DNS filtering product called WebTitan, which a number of our MSP partners also power at the same time as SpamTitan. And would I be right in thinking with some of the malicious links, we're using some of the technology and threat intel from WebTitan to power that intelligence?
Right, so we're using basically that ORBL I talked about is using the same threat intelligence that we use in our web filtering products. That's a database of 3 billion URLs, and as I mentioned already, between 60 and 80,000 new malicious URLs are added to that on a daily basis.
I think we're big advocates as well here in TitanHQ that security is a real layered approach now, and I think everyone is open to that view. We're not talking about fixing every single problem in every area, but we feel if you have the layers properly in place, you're going to be protected in a better manner. And I think MSPs in particular have really built out their tech stacks, including email security, DNS security, and the different layers. And we're huge advocates of that. A very important point, Sean, that you made in the last couple of minutes, however, was when we've upgraded to version 7.04 for the likes of SamBoxing and the extra cloud protection, if I'm an existing SpamTitan customer, I'm getting all of this, but I've got to go in and I've got to turn it on. It isn't turned on by default. Am I correct in stating that?
Correct. So as I mentioned there, we don't want to change behavior of existing running appliances. So there's no unexpected behavior for users who upgrade to a new version. The features are there, they're disabled, but they can just go into the UI or via the API, they can be enabled very quickly.
That's a very important one for current customers. I'm going to move pace now. We're going to go over to Marissa and talk a little bit about spoofing. So I know the MSPs that I talk to and I meet out on the road, spoofing has become a major issue. In particular, MD and CEO spoofing. Marissa, email authentication is really beginning to help on that front. How has SpamTitan powered up recently?
Yeah, so as of SpamTitan 7.04, we now support DMARC compliance and reporting. So if a spoofed mail from a DMARC-protected domain comes in, SpamTitan can now reject or quarantine the email according to the DMARC record of the sending domain. Now, the behavior can be overwritten, however, if you so wished. So it's not a definite quarantine or definite reject if you still want to get those mails in. And then after that, SpamTitan will report back any DMARC failures back to the spoofed domain's administrators so that they can know about the issue and try and take care of it themselves as well. Additionally, there's now also an anti-spoofing tool to prevent spoofing from your own domains that are built in, which allows for stricter control of emails sent from one of your own domains to that same domain. Now, this is a bit more aggressive than DMARC, so it can help a lot with preventing spoofing. This tool can use the SPF record of the sending domain or a predefined list of acceptable sources of email to check against the from header and not just the envelope like SPF normally would to verify that these mails are legitimate emails or spoofed. This all helps mitigate cases where phishers pretend to be the CEO of a company trying to get some secretary or someone else to send money to the phishers for them.
Yeah, it's fantastic because I know from time to time we even see we see spoofing mails like this coming into our own organization. So it's great to see the product powering up in that area. Derek, I'm hearing fantastic feedback on our new sandboxing feature, specifically strong in tackling day zero attacks. And I know from talking to MSPs and the larger customers over the last 9 months, the only frustration I used to hear about the product was, oh, this would be amazing if you can bring sandboxing in. And in the last release, I think we've brought it on board. Tell me a little bit about this.
Yep, absolutely. So sandboxing is something that our MSP and our partners have been asking us for a long time. We have it in the product within 704. As I show on the interface, on the content filtering viruses tab, underneath Phish Defender, you will see cloud protection and sandboxing. These are the two new features brought in. What is sandboxing and what does sandboxing do? So if an email comes to us and it may have an attachment within it, and that attachment does not have a full virus signature for it yet, but it would be seen as suspicious. We will send this to our cloud-based sandbox. The attachment will be executed, and if any malicious content or any malicious type interactions occur, the mail will then be seen as a virus and blocked within SpamTitan as a virus. And of course, within our quarantine reports that are sent to users, that will be reported on. Now again, users cannot release viruses, but they can report it to their administrator to then take action on it. One thing to note as well, when a mail is in the sandbox, our SpamTitan will poll the sandbox every 15 seconds to see if the job is complete. Unless the sandbox has a result already cached for the file being analyzed, it will typically take a few minutes to detonate and analyze the attachment.
Sounds very interesting, Derek. And I think it's very, very important on the webinar today that we outline to our existing customers we made a decision internally here to add sandboxing and the DMARC and anti-spoofing layers that Marissa has referenced. We decided to add them as part of your existing package. So there's no increase in cost here. There's no price going up. This is just added on and rolled out in SpamTitan 7.04. Also, for new customers, it'd be encouraging to know we haven't changed our prices. These prices are the same, and this is the investment and cost for this feature has been absorbed by the business. So I know we've had great feedback in the 2 weeks that it's been live, and as Derek mentioned, it's quite simple to turn on. So make sure you either drop us a mail or get in touch with support, and we'll have you up and running. So, folks, you guys have all spent a lot of time working around SpamTitan, and one of the things that really interests me is what's your favorite element and what's your favorite part of SpamTitan? Derek, you're an expert. You've done millions of demos in your time. I've sat in on some of them with you. What really jumps out at you? What do the MSPs love, Derek?
Yeah, so what I'll do actually, I'll do a bit of a show and tell of my favorite aspect, especially for our MSP customers. The key aspect for here, my favorite aspect of this, and I hear this back from our customers on a regular basis, is the granularity of the reporting and of the access to the system. There would be 4 levels of access to the system. You've got the global administrator or the MSP administrator, which is this view here. So you've got full control over the entire system. You can run reports on the entire system, licensing reports as well per domain and per domain group and so on. There's a layer below this called the domain group administrator. So you may have a large number of domains that you filter for. And of course, SpamTitan is fully multi-tenanted. You can add as many domains as you wish. So you can list them all here. You can have an administrator who can admin a group of these domains. So maybe 4 or 5 out of your 100 or your 1,000 domains and so on. So that is giving them access to look after their own domains. This takes overhead off the MSP also. There's another layer below that called the domain administrator, and that administrator can admin a singular domain. So again, they can view quarantine, view reports, view their users, and view their own license usage and so on. Then the final layer, the 4th layer, is the user level. So the individual mailbox of the individual user also has access to the UI, where they can see their own reporting, their own quarantine, and their own whitelist and blacklist. And it's good to note that at each of those layers, there is whitelisting and blacklisting. There's whitelisting and blacklisting enabled on all of those as well. So I can show you that on the UI. So here if I come to the anti-spam engine, and I'll start with the admins. So we'll see here in domain group administrators, you'll see we've got 2 in here. As the MSP, I can impersonate this user. Just if there's ever any troubleshooting or any reports I need to view here, I can impersonate the user. So this is the domain group administrator. So as you can see on the settings, relay settings tab, this is where I can see my domains. So say for an MSP, you may have a VAR, you may have a reseller or so on. This would be their level of access where they can onboard their domains, they can do their own proof of concepts, and they can look after their own domains. They can also view the reporting, quarantine, filter rules as whitelisting and blacklisting, and also anti-spoofing settings. And then the domain policy settings and user policy settings. If I stop impersonating again, we can then come to the domain administrator level. So again, as mentioned earlier, this is the 3rd level of access. This is a singular domain. So this shows me my reporting for a singular domain and the whitelisting and blacklisting for a singular domain. And last, but obviously not least, because these are the people we're actually protecting, is the end users, so the user policies. So again, if I impersonate any of these, you can see what an end user looks like. So again, I can view my own quarantine. We can open up the tab for reporting as well, and you can have whitelists and blacklists at a per user level as well. One little thing I forgot to mention when I was speaking about sandboxing earlier, it is enabled at a global level at the content filtering viruses tab underneath Bitdefender. But this can, after that, this can be enabled or disabled at a domain level. So once it's enabled at a global level, it's enabled for all your domains. But you can disable this if you wish at a per domain level or at a per user level. So within here, SamBoxing, you can disable if a certain domain or a certain user did not want to use SamBoxing. just a little tidbit that I forgot to mention earlier on.
This looks fantastic, Derek, and I know the feedback we get from the coalface is it's one of people's favorite features with the multi-tenant element of SpamTitan. For the non-techie in the room, Derek, what I'm seeing here is that if I'm an MSP with multiple customers, I have the ability to apply different policies for different customers. So some customers may have very general policies and some may want to get a little bit deeper. Am I correct in that understanding?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if there's anyone on the line who I've spoken to before, I'm sure there is, you'd have heard me say this line: one person's spam mail is another person's clean email. So from time to time, policies need tweaking. That is across the board. It's not always, but it is sometimes, and we can fully support that. So each domain can be tweaked to be more strict or less stringent by simply changing this here, the number associated with the spam threshold. So if I edit beside a domain, you'll see here, consider mail spam when score is greater than. It sounds like a riddle, but that's the spam threshold. So anything that scores above 5 is seen as spam. Anything below 5 is seen as clean. So you can lower and raise this number to your heart's content. There is a way of finding a more suitable score for your domain depending on the mail flow, and we can share that with you after this call as well, after this as well.
That's fantastic. So if we had a customer there, Derek, who we felt they were really getting hit hard by spam and it's really causing them a problem, you'd look and you'd dial up the spam score nice and high and you try and settle on something. Whereas if we had a customer who it isn't the biggest problem, we're seeing some of it, you turn it down. What I'm really hearing is you can adjust the knobs in terms of the control here. Would that be right?
Correct, 100% correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Sean, I know you were a huge advocate of sandboxing within our business over the last couple of months, and you were the key figure who pushed hard for it. So when we talk about favorite features in SpamTitan, I'm going to take a guess sandboxing is up there for you.
Absolutely, Dryden. The addition of sandboxing, which is, as you mentioned already, is available to all customers, no matter how big or small. It's a game changer for the detection and blocking of day zero viruses. You know, the ability to detonate suspect attachments in a safe environment and determine if they're malicious means your customers don't have to find out the hard way. One of the big problems we had with malicious attachments prior to the introduction of sandboxing in SpamTitan 704 was how to deal with polymorphic viruses in particular, viruses which are constantly changing by the virus writers faster than the AV engines can produce signatures to keep up with them. So this is one of the reasons that we felt that sandboxing should be made available to all our customers at no extra cost.
Polymorphic viruses, I must say, it does sound quite scary, and I'm delighted to hear that we're protecting from them now. Marissa, you're someone who can deep dive in here for us, and you know all the technicalities of this product, and you continuously bamboozle me when you talk about it, but I'm delighted you're in there. What's your favorite element, or is there a hidden gem that some of the customers might know about, Marissa, that we could talk about today?
Well, there's a gem that a lot of customers may know about but don't really understand how to fully set it up, and that's rate controls. We often see customers enabling them but not actually using them in any way. And rate controls very greatly help with preventing outbreak attacks. So if a spammer sends a large volume of mail to your customers, the spammer will get rejected after only a small amount of that, preventing most of the spam from even having to be tested, let alone potentially making it past. Probably won't though. But it's also really fantastic for outbound mail because if you're scanning outbound mail, you tend to have to be more lenient with your outbound mail because it's all coming from internal domains and things like that. So if one of your customers had an employee that went to a dangerous website and got a virus on their computer, starts sending out large amounts of mail, your IP, your good name will all be protected because only a very small amount of that will get through before we start blocking it. And setting it up is very simple. It looks like it has a lot of things to it, but it really just enabling the default policies that come built into SpamTitan will greatly improve the catch rate for your SpamTitan box.
Sounds impressive and sounds like something that we have to have a deep dig into. I've just noticed on the webinar sign-ups here, we have a huge amount of managed service providers, and I'm very happy to say we feel that in the managed service provider community, SpamTitan has really become the go-to email security option for the managed service provider who specifically services the SMB and SME market. It's one of the strengths of the products, and we have 1,850 MSPs using the product in that niche at this moment. Derek, something I ask all the time is why? Why are MSPs liking what we're doing here? I know we touched a little bit on granularity and private cloud earlier on, but can you just give us a 1,000-foot view of why an MSP services an SMB or an SME? Why are they going to look at us vis-a-vis any of the other 20 guys on the block?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key driving points here would be obviously our flexibility and the ease to work with, but one of the key aspects is what we call our MSP Cloud or our private cloud that we host in AWS. We've got a global footprint there, and we can deploy wherever you want. And the servers we deploy are yours and yours only. So they're yours that you can onboard your customers. The IPs we provide to you, again, are yours and yours only. Very scalable. And when you're on our private cloud or MSP Cloud, you get additional rule sets that we have grown in-house. You get additional RBLs that we have partnered with, as well as our own in-house grown RBL as well. The system is fully white label. So from the settings, interface settings tab on the UI here, you can upload your own logo, you can change the color scheme, and you can do a number of different things here. We can even go down to the granularity driving of changing the fave icon up here. We can add your fave icon up here. Just let myself or support know, and we can change that very simply for you. So it's fully white label as well. All our MSP cloud systems are monitored 24/7. If an alert ever did occur, we would have an experienced engineer sitting, looking, troubleshooting that system within 30 minutes, and we will have it up and running. Thankfully, AWS is very solid, but monitoring is a must, and we monitor every single system we have hosted, be that SpamTitan, WebTitan Cloud, or ArcTitan. We'll monitor all of the above.
Sounds fantastic, and in particular, I'm glad to hear that the granularity of the product is also reflected in reporting. So as an MSP, they can decide customer A is going to get this level of reporting, customer B is going to get that level, which is fantastic. Sean, we're also seeing a massive growth in SpamTitan on the back of Office 365 deployments, and I know Microsoft have been doing some work recently on this area, but we're still seeing deficiencies in the EOP platform, and I think that's where we're jumping in. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, right. So I guess as we all know, there's a big difference between the threat intelligence to power Office EOP and Office 365 ATP. When it comes to zero attacks and persistent spear phishing, many people just find that EOP is lacking. But by offering SpamTitan in front of Office 365, you're not only adding another layer of protection, but with SpamTitan's high spam detection rates and with the ability to block day zero viruses, ransomware, and phishing, you're providing a solution which will strengthen your overall Office 365 security.
Sounds very interesting, and I know, to be fair to Microsoft, and we've talked to them on a number of occasions, I do think ATP is performing quite well, is what we're hearing. I think what we hear on the ground is, from a EOP perspective, yes, it catches viruses, yes, it catches a certain amount of spam, but I think at the malware level, it just isn't doing the business. And an area in particular, the zero-day attacks with SamBoxing built into SpamTitan now, we're seeing a lot more MSPs coming and adding it on as a third-party add-on. So that was fantastic, and one of the things I now want to do is we're being bombarded with questions. We nearly have 100 questions here, and I promise you we will get back to you after the show with all of these. But I'm going to try and pick some that I think are quite relevant, and I'm going to bring it around the table here and try and get some answers for you guys. So Gary from Boston has come in, and just on the point of Office 365, he said, technically, Derek, could you tell me how SpamTitan integrates with Office 365? So Derek, let's get practical here and say, show me. I'm sitting there, I want to integrate with Office 365. What am I doing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a question that comes up regularly because a lot of people have moved to 365. We've done it ourselves recently. So in regard to integration, there's actually very little that is required. Obviously, when you have your MSP Cloud, we would be your MX records. So we filter the bad stuff out, and we'll pass the clean mail on to your 365. So simply, Within here, system setup, mail relay, when you onboard your domain, let's actually onboard one for example here. So this domain is on 365. Let's call it test.com. The only integration, the only aspect we need to do here is add the destination server. So the destination server is where we send the mail to. And with 365 is a common syntax for this. So for test.com, it should simply be test-mail-protection-outlook.com. And that's it. That's it, Trident. Click on save. We will now filter your mail and pass all the email onto your 365 tenant for delivery to your mailbox. One little tidbit here as well. I'd always recommend after onboarding a domain, sending a test email to a mailbox within that domain, just to verify everything, communication across the board is correct. So send it to an email address within test.com, click send, they should receive the test email immediately. Just a good thing to do.
I think even I'd be able to do that, Derek. Just about. I might have called you over at the end, though. But okay, we've got a good question actually. Greg in Tampa. Thanks for your question, Greg. We have a really good question here about failover, redundancy, high availability. Derek, would you mind tackling that, because you're at the coalface when it comes to a lot of support issues. How are we looking in terms of redundancy and failover?
Yep, good question again. We support the above perfectly. So this system I have in front of me is a standalone SpamTitan server for demonstration purposes. But whether you're on our SpamTitan MSP Cloud or a private cloud, or you're hosting this yourself, SpamTitans can be clustered together. So you can have multiple SpamTitan servers running in conjunction with each other. They run in an active mode or an active. You can have as many SpamTitans in there as you wish. One UI, so one pane of glass to log into to make all configuration changes. They're replicated across the cluster. And what I would always recommend is have two MX records with equal priority and the MX pointing to the different servers within the cluster. And in your reporting, on your single pane of glass, you can view all mail that has touched any of those servers from here, the reporting and history tab. When you've mail up and running, this reporting and history tab shows you everything that has happened to all mail that has touched SpamTitan. So in short, yes, HA failover redundancy is fully within us. We can cluster the servers together. As I mentioned earlier on AWS, we'd put them in different availability zones also. So they have their own pipes, their own connections, their own internet breakout points, and so on as well. If the server ever goes down, we always spec each server to hold the capacity of your entire mail flow. So if one go down, the other server will take on all the mail, no problem.
Sounds brilliant. Yeah, very, very good. I just see John from London. This question is a little bit related, but we talk an awful lot about private clouds, and we talk about giving bigger customers, MSPs, private clouds, Derek. But he's asked a good question. Are these monitored?
Yes, they are. And I touched on this earlier on, and it is a key point. We monitor all our private cloud or MSP clouds 24/7. Be that Christmas Day, whatever day, we monitor these and we will look after your systems. Email is mission critical. DNS is our other filter, that is mission critical also. And obviously your archiving, which is our third service. All these are mission critical. We manage all these for you in our cloud, so we monitor these 24/7. And if an alert ever did go out, we will have an experienced engineer working on that system within 30 minutes.
Well, I'm really hoping that nobody comes looking on Christmas Day, but if they do, we'll look after them, Derek, because it's a funny thing. Sometimes it happens, doesn't it? So it's the Friday at 5:30. That's where you really need someone, and it's an area we actually pride ourselves on. So I'm happy to hear that. We promised at the top of this call we would keep it to 30 minutes, and we're right on that number now. So we're going to wrap up. A few important things. Firstly, thanks a million for joining us. Secondly, thanks to our three experts today who've come on board. I think it's been very, very insightful, and this is a procedure we're going to do every couple of weeks now. For the listeners on board today, a few things. We will email you an email recording, a video recording of this, so you can go through any of the bits that are particularly interesting to you. Secondly, If you've submitted a question, we will absolutely get back to you. We've had over 100 questions today. We'll get back to you in the next 24 hours with an answer to that question. And also, we've introduced a new fantastic docs section and resource section for SpamTitan and actually WebTitan, and that's located at docs.titanhq.com. So have a look in there, and if there's any areas of SpamTitan setup that you're not very happy with or you're worried about, you can go in and have a good look through. And this is actually a movable feast. We're working on this every day. So once again, thanks for your time. We're here. Don't be afraid to email in, contact support if you have any issues for existing customers and new customers. Come to the site and drop us an email, and we'll talk to you in a month's time. Thank you very much.